Chapter 5, A Science of Trade. Terence Hutchinson has drawn attention to a boom in economic writing and thinking that occurred in England during the 1690s. Although he is mainly interested in the analytical progress made during this period by authors such as North, Martin, and Barbon, he also points...
Please put parentheses. North, okay, just put parentheses.
North,
Who's the second one?
Martyn, and Barbon. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
He also points out that this period is remarkable for its general and synthetic works on trade and commerce. Thus, around this time, many authors struggled to join together ideas, theories, and concepts which had been used in the previous discussions into a more coherent, quote, discourse of trade. The aim was to put forward a number of general principles upon which commerce and trade were instituted. Footnote number 1. It is quite clear that the period was obsessed with general treatises. The synthetic ambition is, for example, clearly discernible with Josiah Child's textbook, A New Discourse of Trade, 1693. Hence, this book was much more than a mere extension of his Discourse of Trade, published 3 years earlier. Thus, the 1690 text mainly enclosed Child's often repeated opinion that the interest rate ought to be lowered by statute. The new edition, however, was enlarged with much new material. In New Discourse, Child was consciously trying to present a number of general arguments on the overall role of trade and commerce for economic development. As this work was subsequently published in numerous editions over the next century, it is clear that it was widely read. Other works with the same ambition, which perhaps did not achieve such commercial success, were also published by other authors, some of whom we will describe in this chapter: Charles Davenant, Nicholas Barbon, Samuel Clement, Dudley North, and others. Another important author of this period, John Carey, a merchant from Bristol, would even use the word, quote, science, when attempting to present some general principles regarding trade. Quote, in order to discover whether a nation gets or loses by its trade, 'tis necessary first to inquire into the principles whereupon it is built, for trade hath its principles as other sciences have, and as difficult to understand. Footnote number 2. It is not so difficult to understand why the 1690s particularly implied a boom in economic writing and thinking. The Glorious Revolution had turned the political scenery upside down. With the Stuarts, many old favorites fell into disrepute, while, with others, fortunes rose. For the East India Company, for example, the future definitely looked less bright than before. During the Restoration, it had been transformed into a joint stock company. At the time of the Glorious Revolution, as Cunningham had shown, it was not only a trade monopoly, but a political and judicial power as well. Footnote number 3. However, in the 1690s, the company received sharp opposition from competing merchants, wool manufacturers, and Whig politicians who looked with envy at the privileges held by the company. As a result, many of its privileges were discarded. It was also a clear sign of the new situation when a rival, quote, Whig East India Company was set up in 1700. Footnote number 4. Another major issue which stirred up as much controversy during this decade was a new recoinage project. As we saw...
Let's put that 1690 to 1700. I'm asking myself, what are the reasons for the depression? Okay, here we have decline in the East India Company. But why? And what he says, the reason was that no competitors. But, well, that could cause, in other words, cause a recession if there's an excess supply, cloth and demand. But he doesn't say that. All he says there is that from 1690 to 1800, there was the East India Company declined and other companies became more competitive. Oh, let's see, maybe they'll give some.
The Glorious Revolution had turned the political scenery upside down.
What's the Glorious Revolution?
Is that another name for the Restoration?
Yeah.
Or the English Civil War?
I think that's 1660.
You know, we can ask the Google.
We better look at it, yeah. Well, I think it's the Restoration of Charles II. We better check it. Yeah, what's the Glorious Revolution?
Glorious Revolution.
So good.
The Glorious Revolution, also called the Revolution of 1688, was...
1688?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. 69, yeah.
Was, come on. Was the overthrow of King James II of England, the 7th of Scotland and the 2nd of Ireland, in 1688 by a union of parliamentarians with an invading army led by the Dutch stadholder William III of Orange-Nassau, William of Orange,
William III, and he became, go ahead.
who as a result ascended the English throne as William III of England,
That's
together with his wife Mary II of England.
That's it. So it's William III. The Dutch became
Right.
yeah, okay. So
Yes.
So they had a Dutch leader in England. It's rather interesting. William III.
Oh, William and Mary, yeah.
Okay,
Okie dokie.
all right.
Okay, so...
Yeah.
Another major issue which stirred up much controversy during this decade was a new recoinage project. As we saw, since the 1620s, there had been no attempts made by the crown to debase the currency. However, among the public an almost continual fear existed that money would be needed in circulation. This anxiety became even more pronounced after 1663, when the old prohibition against the export of bullion was dissolved. Footnote 5. In reality, a more important problem than the alleged export of coin was probably the tendency for old silver coin to become worn out in circulation. Hence, their actual silver content tended to decrease over time. In accordance with Gresham's law, this seems in practice to have led to newly minted silver coin never going into circulation. As new coins contained more silver, they would be melted down and sold as bullion, at least to some extent to foreigners. In response to this, a new recoinage project was launched. It declared the withdrawal of old and worn coins and the circulation of new. According to the original plan made up by William Lowndes, the introduction of the new coin would imply a debasement of the silver crown from 60 to 75 pence. However, John Locke's intervention...
From 60 to 75 pence?
Yes. Would imply a debasement of the silver crown from 60 to 75 pence. So I guess instead of being 100, it would be worth 60 or 60 to 75?
Decline, yeah.
Yeah. However, John Locke's intervention meant that this attempt was halted.
John Locke?
Yes.
L-O-C-K-E?
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead, the old standard was preserved. During the next few years, this would result in a severe deflation which worsened a trade crisis already in existence. Hence, okay.
Please put down the notes. Deflation.